Welcome to the update. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jai.
We're your next generation news network covering current world events, foods who give back, and the great things about Arizona. Thanks again for being with us here today. Let's start off the show the only way we can. It's the Haps with the Maps. We begin our world travels in Ukraine, as according to the BBC, over 1,100 towns in Ukraine are currently without electricity, and many are also without ready access to water and gas. Russian drone and missile strikes are reportedly the cause, as many of these strikes have been targeting power plants, like the most recent strike on October 18th. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky tweeted Tuesday that over the past week, Russian attacks have knocked out 30% of their power plants, causing massive blackouts across the country. These conditions come right when Ukraine will be experiencing its coldest months of the year, which has its residents grasping at wood-burning stoves, making fires, bundling up whatever they can do to stay warm. Now, parts of the capital, Kiev, and facilities in Zhytomyr and Dnipro were hit, causing these areas to be without water, gas, and electricity. Now, allegedly, the U.S., United Kingdom, and France, along with Ukraine, believe that Iran supplied the drones, which would violate the UN Security Council resolution linked to a nuclear agreement. Russia and Iran deny the allegations, and now on to Jai for more of these relations.
Thank you, Tiff. Now, let's take a look at the situation between these countries. Now, perfect segue into what might be a surprising gesture between Russia and Ukraine. Because I figure, hey, if I'm going to report on two less than uplifting stories, I'm sandwiching something a little nice in the middle, like bacon. So yeah, think of the story like bacon. Now, thanks to Saudi Arabia and Turkey brokering the deal, 218 prisoners of war were released by Russia, and in exchange, Ukraine released Vladimir Putin's friend, Viktor Medvedchuk, along with 55 Russian fighters. Now, allegedly, the majority of the released Ukrainians are part of Azov. According to Al Jazeera, Azov began in 2014 when Ukrainian leaders realized their armed forces needed Captain America. They realized they needed some help against Russian separatists. So Ukrainian oligarchs funded Azov, and some of their actions have definitely come into question. In 2015, the United States and Canada ascertained that they would not support or train Azov forces, citing their neo-Nazi connections as the cause. Now, switching gears back to the alleged Iranian involvement in the drones and being used by Russia. Kamikaze drones used in the recent drone attacks are believed to be supplied by Iran. Currently, the EU is preparing evidence so they can figure out what they believe the truth to be. Let's discuss the impact. Now, hypothetically, let's say Iran did supply these drones in question that are causing immense destruction. Well, that would breach UN Resolution 2231, which went into effect in January 2016, and basically stated that the UN desires a healthy relationship with Iran in all ways, including its nuclear weapons operations. Those involved included China, France, Germany, the Russian Federation, the United Kingdom, the United States, the EU, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Long story shorter, if Iran gave the Shahed 136-style drones to Russia and violated the agreement, there would be sanctions possibly negating Iran receiving different technologies or potentially worse ramifications. Now, Vedant Patel of the State Department said, "They've exposed publicly that Russia has received drones from Iran, that this was part of Russia's plan to import hundreds of Iranian UAVs of various types." He went on to warn anyone aiding the flow of weapons from Iran to Russia, stating they should be very careful and do their due diligence. The United States will not hesitate to use sanctions or take actions against perpetrators. and we will of course keep you updated on this world event that has massive worldwide foreign relation implications. And we'll do it with just the facts so you can choose your own view. Now stay with us after the break as we continue our journey around the world. You're watching The Update.
Welcome back to the update on the HYFN TV network. Remember, you can always catch us on your phone at HYFNTV.com or on your Roku device by downloading our channel HYFN TV. And that includes remembering to look out for all of the major national debates. Now let's swing it over to Daniel for a story for the people in Thailand. Daniel?
Thank you, Tiff. So, according to the Associated Press, a court in Myanmar ruled that the last trial for ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi will in fact move forward after deciding that prosecuting attorneys have presented substantial evidence for doing so. You may remember the military seized control from her last year in February, and she has since been charged with 12 counts that fall under anti-corruption laws. She was already sentenced to 26 years in prison. The charges include illegally importing and possessing walkie-talkies, violating coronavirus restrictions, breaching the Official Secrets Act, and election fraud, among several other counts of corruption. Now, whether we agree, disagree, or have any commentary isn't important. What is important is that now you have the facts and you can decide for yourself. Now, over to Tiff, hopefully, for some peace in the Middle East.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, it was about a month ago the United States executed an airstrike on strategically placed targets within militia-controlled Syria. Now, according to Colin Kahl, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy under President Biden, he said the strikes were necessary to protect American personnel in Syria, which had been the targets of several recent attacks by Iran. It was designed to minimize casualties. We cannot accept further attacks on our personnel. This was a demonstration that the United States will not hesitate to defend itself against Iran and Iranian-backed aggression when it occurs. Kahl went on to claim that Iran coordinated 2 separate attacks on American targets at the same time, and this compounded the need to respond and defend the American honor. We'll keep you posted as new details arrive. And dang, foreign relations can get tricky. We know that at the end of the day, countries are ran by people, and hey, people have different thoughts and feelings, so it's to be expected that not everyone is going to get along all the time. Now, currently, we do have the UN, NATO, the EU, and several other different international entities who make it their job to keep peace around the world. I mean, right? We have to leave these choices up to you here on the update. Now we'll see you after the break as Daniel takes us on a journey through some of the most memorable events in world history in the segment we've dubbed This Day in History. See you in a few.
We are back. All kinds of things happened in the past. On this day, October 19th, it's time for This Day in History. Let's go. Now, we featured a lot of international relations stories today, so let's start off this day in history with a similar story for these Americas. In 1781, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, England's General Cornwallis surrendered to George Washington and his troops in Yorktown, Virginia, which basically ended the American Revolution and won America its independence. America. Now, just 8 years later, we find the Judiciary Act of 1789. To come out of this codified law, John Jay, a founding father of the United States, was appointed as the Chief Justice. And he was joined by 5 associate justices: James Wilson, William Cushing, John Blair, John Rutledge, and James Iredell. Now, going forward to 1812, Napoleon invaded his old friend Russia. He's hitting them with everything he has, but Russia's too strong, withstands all of his efforts. As Napoleon enters Moscow to find most of the inhabitants had already evacuated. A fire-ridden Moscow, as leaders and police encourage all to set the city ablaze before it could be taken over. Napoleon sent a letter encouraging Alexander to end the war, but he did not receive a swift response. So amidst being outnumbered and hearing of possible new partnerships scheming against him, so he made the executive decision and ordered the troops to pack it in. So it might be advisable to stay clear of Russian problems, right? Moving on to 1897, George M. Pullman, the inventor of the Pullman sleeping car, which is the foundation of what is used in today's railroad car setup, dies of a heart attack. Man, we hope he's enjoying that forever sleep. I know I could use a nap right now for sure. And lastly, last time we mentioned the date, Mother Teresa joined the list of saints. Now, on this day in 2003, she was beatified by Pope John Paul II. Now, we ask you to keep in mind we're talking about religious beliefs here, so it's completely your call. If you agree, disagree, believe, don't believe, that's not our concern. But essentially, what this means is that the Pope has received messaging of some sort confirming this individual's entrance to heaven, as they believe. And this person has been made a go-between, asserting that prayer to this person can mean the prayer being delivered to God. Now, whatever that means to you, doesn't matter. You can figure that out for yourself. All we know is, according to reports, Mother Teresa did a ton of good for a ton of people. And that's what we like to share. And that brings us to the end of this day in history for today. We'll see you in a few when we bring it back home here to the beautiful state of Arizona in the state news.
And just like that, after a nice long trip around the world, it's time to bring it back home to our lovely Grand Canyon State. It's time for the Arizona State News. Now here on the update, we like to keep you in the know on what's happening around you right here in our backyard. Maybe you're catching us live on your phones at HYFNTV.com or on social media. Maybe you're checking us out on our Roku channel. That's HYFN TV. Maybe you're going back checking us out on demand on the website. But no matter how you get your news, you can always rely on us here on the update at HYFN TV to break down the news in Arizona in the most relevant and meaningful way for you, our viewers. Thank you. Now let's kick it off with an update in the gubernatorial elections. The plot thickens. We recently shared that the Clean Elections Committee backed out of the Kari Lake interview after finding out PBS offered Katie Hobbs a separate sit-down after declining to take part in the televised debates. Now, the Clean Elections Committee also publicly expressed disapproval with PBS's actions because of a long-standing, agreed-upon shared practice of only offering a sit-down to the candidate who agrees to debate when one candidate declines. The Commission had also publicly stated they would seek a new partner for the debates, which now they seemingly have found. The new interview is scheduled to air on Sunday, October 23rd at 5 p.m. on Channel 7 KAZT, who is seemingly the new partner. Hobbs is still scheduled for her 30-minute sit-down with PBS at 5 p.m. That was potentially yesterday, so we're going to keep you up to date on that ASAP. We will stay up to date and, of course, inform you as soon as the updates roll in. Now, let's go to Tiff for a feel-good story from right here in the West Valley. You've been thunderstruck.
Thank you, Jai. Now, you all might remember earlier this week we talked about the crazy thunderstorms we had here in the valley last weekend. Well, Arizona Family did a story on a 12-year-old girl in Sun City who was actually struck by lightning. And yep, you heard that right. Dr. Kevin Foster, director of the Arizona Burn Center, said that Ella Jorgensen is doing well and that her family is in good spirits after what must have been a very terrifying experience. Ella is expected to be released very soon following protocols. Now, her father, who resuscitated her on site, said that he was just being a dad taking care of his daughter. That's some strength right there. Way to go, Dad. I don't know if I could do that. He was also the first person she saw when she woke up, and according to him, the first thing she said was, "Wow, I'm going to have a really cool story to tell." We are so glad this story had a happy ending. And now to Daniel for what some may also consider a happy ending. And in another story, you may have heard the name. I'm going to continue taking this.
Go.
So in another story, you may have heard the name Nathan Larson before. It might have been when Larson ran for Congress with an agenda to legalize incest and pedophilia. Now, he did actually get on the ballot because, well, as an independent in West Virginia, you just need 1,000 signatures and poof, you're on the ballot. So when WUSA 9 met up with him amidst his campaign in 2020, he shared his view that a daughter's sexual activities should be up to the father. He was also in the news and spent about a year behind bars for threatening to kill President Obama. And then earlier this year, he met a 12-year-old girl on social media, convinced her to be with him, flew out to Fresno, California, and attempted to fly back to the East Coast with her. Thankfully, authorities caught up with them on a layover in Denver. He was allegedly transferred from a lockup facility in Fresno to another in Arizona and died in custody on September 18th. The primary cause of death is pending. And don't forget, you're watching the update. See you in a few.
Welcome back, friends. Now, if you're just joining us, this is the update. So be sure to download our HYFN TV channel on your Roku so you can quickly run through all our shows and catch all the updates and content from us here on the HYFN TV network. Now let's kick it over to Daniel, who's going to present a beautiful piece that pays tribute to our world's history, pays homage to those not with us, and shows the passion of one artist to do everything he can so that future generations do not forget. Daniel?
Thanks, Jai. Now, you may have seen my favorite segment, This Day in History, of course, earlier in Around the World. And it looks like Arizona might be on the ball with paying tribute to one of the most remembered events in the world. Yes, it's true. A new Holocaust museum called the Center for Hope, Humanity, and Holocaust Education, inspired by artist Robert Sutt's work. And it'll hopefully open in 2025. The Arizona Jewish Historical Society plans to expand their downtown Phoenix Center to a new 17,000 square foot operation. Wow, talk about an upgrade. Suts creates what he calls life masks, lifelike sculptures busts with incredible detail. He says, I want the future generations to know that these people look beautiful. They look just like us. I could tell you more, but let's just check this out. Now, the Phoenix Holocaust Association president, Cheryl Bronkish, said Robert's work really highlights the personal stories behind the Holocaust. Now, the new project is set to cost around $14 million. They've raised about half so far, so we'll stay up to date on how this is going. Now, let's go to Tiff for some weather news.
Thank you, Daniel. Excuse me, what a truly heartwarming story. Now, moving on. Because knowing our history, knowing where we come from, what has happened, it can help us be better to each other moving forward. Now, last weekend we got rain and thunder and lightning, and it was gorgeous. This time, let's take a look at the week ahead here in Arizona. We've been seeing highs in the 90s, and this month, just like most Octobers, is when Arizona starts to cool down. We might go way up and then way back down for a bit like we're used to, but signs point to the highs starting to come down into the 80s towards the end of this week and into the upper 70s next week. So super beautiful weather out there. The lows will stay around the upper 60s we've been seeing, and by next week we might just see some lows in the 50s. Get ready to break out those hoodies and sweatpants, some of my faves. And totes can't wait for the hot chocolate and soup and cold nights and movies, all the good things. Can't forget those blankets. Let's go back to you, Daniel.
Ooh, I definitely can't wait for that hot chocolate too. Now, you know I'm on the Varsity Squad show here on the HYFN TV network, so you know I had to wrestle Jai when he said he wanted to do sports. So let's get into it with some Bird Gang news. 4 years in, Cliff Kingsbury is all ears. Currently sitting at 2 wins, 4 losses, the Arizona Cardinals franchise ranks 16th overall in offense and 22nd overall in defense. Now, that's just 19 points a game on average. They just came off a 19-6 loss against the Seahawks. The only time they entered the promised land was off a special teams fumble. Offense definitely needs some work. Quarterback Kyler Murray is coincidentally having his worst season to date based on numbers. Just 5.6 yards per catch and just 6 touchdowns to his 4 interceptions. Sounds like my favorite Arizona lottery game, the pick. But we all know, just like in Motivational Monday's video, that everything is attitude. So Coach Kingsbury is taking a step back, trying to be open to all possible solutions, including giving up play calling. He said, I am open to anything that helps us score more points and helps us win. Kingsbury said when asked if he'd give up play calling at this Monday news conference. We will see where it all goes, but yeah, whatever it takes to win, I'm all for it. Those are his words. Now, I think that's kind of crazy that a head coach is giving up play calling, but we'll see. I mean, if the Cardinals can get some wins off that, that'd be awesome. They've also added receiver Robbie Anderson to the roster, and they do get DeAndre Hopkins back from a PED suspension. Finally. Let's see how they do. We all love a good comeback story, right? Now for the Phoenix Suns, Cameron Johnson and the Phoenix Suns franchise were unable to agree on a new contract by Monday afternoon's deadline. This means that Johnson will be a restricted free agent next summer. Now with the new ownership around the corner, it seems extremely helpful that they did in fact get to re-sign wing specialist Mikal Bridges, and of course all the Suns fans probably know we also matched the Indiana Pacers offer of $133 million over the summer to keep DeAndre Ayton on the roster. And with that, we put another episode of the update to bed. Till next time, guys, I'm Daniel.
I'm Tiff.
And I'm Jai. Bye for now.